All right. Interesting conversation on The Shop this past weekend. Friday night it aired on HBO. The Shop is the show created by LeBron James and Maverick
They all agree
Carter.
with everything that he says normally when he's on the show. That barbershop show.
Hey, you said it. That's what it is. There's been a little pushback because this episode that this stems from, there was some pushback because they were talking about this was like a year or two ago. They were talking about the greatest athlete, and I think Maverick Carter said Tom Brady, and LeBron pushed back and said, no, I don't think a football player can be the greatest athlete. And then they all agree with LeBron. It's a team sport. No, but because it's a team. Because he's only playing one way. In football, you only go one way. You don't have to worry about defense or you don't have to worry about offense. So anyway, they had Tom Brady on Friday, and LeBron was not there, but Maverick Carter was hosting. And they brought this up with Tom Brady, and here's the exchange.
LeBron once made a comment on their show. I don't know if you ever saw this episode, because I was saying to him, I think Tom Brady is the greatest athlete of all time. And LeBron's like, I love Tom. I think he's the greatest football player. But football players don't have to play offense and defense.
I remember when he said that.
Do you remember that, Tom?
Of course I remember when he said that.
Tom, I disagree with him.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I'm not a big comparison thing like that.
I agree.
Because really just depends what style you like.
True.
Right? You could say, well, you may be the most accomplished. I would say like, okay, yeah, I've won a lot of games, Super Bowls and so forth, but my style of play might not fit everybody else's with their view of what that position should be. I can really just be the best with the body that I was given. Mm-hmm. You know, there's certain things that I certainly cannot do, and I have the awareness to realize, okay, I can't do those things. You can't do everyone else's job. I can't block, tackle, run, catch. Sure as hell can't run, but I can throw the out of the ball, you know? So let me just do that, and let me do that really well, you know? And I think if I could do that, then the team certainly could use me for that.
All right, Rob, my feelings are this. I certainly believe a football player can be the greatest athlete. I don't buy LeBron's logic. It's just the nature of the sport. It's almost like me saying a center can't be the greatest basketball player because he doesn't bring the ball up the court or he doesn't shoot threes.
Or saying Willie Mays centers can't be the greatest, or Hank Aaron or Barry Bonds because they don't pitch. Right. That's what you would be saying. No. Now,
I get it if you said a pitcher couldn't be the greatest baseball player because, they're not fielding for the most part or hitting. That's a little different.
And the only difference is
30 times a year or whatever.
I get it, but Babe Ruth did both. You know what I mean?
Well,
Chris,
he did both.
And now you're seeing...
but he's known more as a hitter, too.
No, I get that. I'm just saying. And by the way, Shohei Ohtani's first at bat at Yankee Stadium, guess what? A home run. Yeah.
No, he's my
unbelievable.
Point. If he was just... Now, those are guys, though, that are hitting and pitching.
No, right. I'm just saying, right.
Yeah, just a guy that purely pitched. You're only out there every 5 or 6 days or whatever.
Right.
But for this discussion, here's my thing, right? I'm going to go here. And everybody that listens to this show knows that I believe Tom Brady is the GOAT quarterback, the greatest quarterback of all time. I don't believe he's the greatest football player. I have a hard time saying he's the greatest football player. And I'm not saying that because he's a quarterback. I'm saying it because to be the greatest athlete of all time, I do think there has to be some, in my view, some degree of what we all term overall athleticism. I have to be able to, like all the things he said he can't do, run, block, catch. Well, if you're the greatest athlete ever, you got to do some of that. You got to be able to do that to some degree. Like if Lamar Jackson went on to accomplish what Tom Brady or Pat Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, if they accomplished what Tom Brady did, I could say that's the greatest football player ever. Because I can picture Rodgers being, going out and running the football to some degree or catching the football. He's an athlete. Like he's athletic. He's fast. He's quick. He's got some of that.
He's got
Obviously,
a couple of
Lamar.
moves. You remember at the goal line against what was that?
I remember last year when he was afraid to run, but that's neither here nor there.
I don't know about afraid to run. He should have run. I agree with that. I don't know about why would he be afraid?
You see what I'm saying is like a Lawrence Taylor who, he can't throw the football, but I could say he was the greatest football player ever. A Jim Brown, a Jerry Rice, somebody that if I put, and I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. If we all started off in a football practice and they're trying to find out what different guys can do, and you're running through the gauntlet, you got to do some tackling drills. You got to do some blocking drills. You got to sprint. You got to catch the football. There's no way I'm coming out of something like that and saying, Tom Brady, that's the greatest football player out here. Because he can't do those things. He's the greatest quarterback. But I have a hard time. I have a real problem when people say he's the greatest football player ever. So that's more my take than football. A football player certainly could be the greatest athlete ever.
When you start talking about it, I just have to rate them by the position that they play and their impact on the game. Lawrence Taylor, for a lot of people, though he didn't play offense, disrupted the game, changed the game, and played his position as well as anybody can play. So I just look at it like that when I think of an impactful player. When you talk about it, right? Should Lawrence Taylor be discounted because he couldn't throw the ball or he never caught a ball? Do you know what I mean?
No, because you can only do what you do. I'm just saying,
well, but
do
as a
you have the
quarterback,
athleticism?
Yeah, but as a quarterback, okay, so I'll ask you this.
So you think Joe Montana is the greatest football player ever?
No, I didn't say that, but I'm just saying I'm not going to, I think your argument is that Tom's not athletic enough. So I would ask you, if Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowls, all the Super Bowls that he's won, then would you? No, I'm asking you.
I just said it.
So you would, right?
I said a Lamar Jackson, a Pat Mahomes, and Aaron Rodgers, a quarterback that's athletic. Yeah.
Then you would change your mind. Okay.
If Tim Tebow was that good, you know what I'm saying? Then I could look at him. He's strong. He can run. And obviously Brady's athletic to some degree. But to me, that is the greatest athlete. It's not just a guy that can throw the football and is incredibly smart at his position. And that's really that Tom Brady is the GOAT quarterback because he can throw. He doesn't throw it better than every other quarterback we've ever seen, but he can throw and he is smart. He's got, he's incredible in both of those things. But does that make him the greatest athlete of all time? I can't go there.
I get it. And some people were trying to say that, even trying to supplant Michael Jordan as the greatest team sport, because then they got to say team sport. Like for Tom, there's always all of these little things you got to throw up there. You know what I mean? You can't just say he's the greatest athlete of all time. Then they say, well, he's the greatest team athlete. Is he a better team athlete than Michael Jordan? I don't believe so. Even though he's won one more Super Bowl. one more championship, right? I don't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting discussion because I agree. I don't get into the team thing. And I think with what LeBron said, kind of taking his logic to the nth degree, like he says, a football player can't be the greatest athlete because they only play one way. Well, if you take that logic further, then you could say no one in a team sport can be the greatest athlete.
That's exactly right.
Right?
Even LeBron.
You're always relying. If Ray Allen doesn't hit that shot, if Kyrie Irving doesn't hit that shot, LeBron doesn't have as many championships.
Let's just be honest. Let's keep it real, right?
And the same for Michael Jordan. Even though he was obviously the greatest player,
I get it with Steve Kerr and Paxson. Right.
You need them to play defense. He needed Dennis Rodman to rebound. So in a team sport, every athlete is reliant, unless it was a pitcher, right? Unless it was a pitcher, obviously, and the pitcher still has to rely on. You got to get some offense. I mean,
you got to get a run.
Some type of superhuman pitcher
You can pitch a no-hitter, Chris. If you don't get any runs, you don't win.
Right.
Right.
So you could say you got to be a boxer, you got to be a track athlete,
tennis player,
a swimmer, tennis. Yeah. So I just think that logic is flawed. But yeah, I firmly believe Tom Brady's the GOAT quarterback. That's me, man. When I think of a football player, I think of somebody running through all the drills and dominating and looking great. Doesn't mean he can throw it better than everybody else or he's the absolute fastest, but he got some speed. He can hit. He can catch a little bit. He can throw it. He can tackle. I got to be able to picture you doing that. I mean, to me, I'm probably in the minority. But that's my thought on the matter, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I would be curious just to hear because I don't think anybody made on either side. Even Brady's argument wasn't compelling. You know, I don't remember LeBron.
Well, he just talked around it.
He talked around it. You know what I mean? So I just think you have to look at it and determine, like I said to you, Chris, earlier about Lawrence Taylor and how impactful he was. Right? You could say Lawrence Taylor, did he not change the game? Did he not?
No, he did. I mean,
right?
and to be a linebacker.
And I covered Lawrence Taylor. I was covering the Giants then.
Of
and he was unbelievable, Chris. I thought he was like something that we had never seen.
But I would say nobody's had the impact on football that Tom Brady has. I mean, he's won more Super Bowls than any other franchise. So
yeah, but somebody could make the argument. Was it all him, though?
No, it wasn't all him.
I get it.
But I'm just saying, like, obviously he was the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not all Lawrence Taylor. It's not, as we said, it's not all anybody in football. You know, especially football, more so than even basketball. But there's nobody that's had that impact that he's had. So that's what people are saying. He's the most, when they say he's the greatest football player, he's the most accomplished.
Accomplished. I don't think anybody could argue that. When you use that word, Chris, I can even sign off on accomplished. I've said it. He is the most accomplished. There's no doubt in my mind.
Right. I think he's the most accomplished, most impactful football player. Yes. Greatest football player? No. Greatest quarterback? Yeah, in my view. But LeBron says a football player can't be the greatest athlete of all time. You agree? Disagree? And is Tom Brady the greatest football player of all time?
I just threw up in my mouth. All right, Austin. In Austin, Texas. You're on The Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Austin?
Hey, how you doing, Rob?
Doing
Chris,
good.
Thank you for taking my call. First time caller, long time listener.
Oh,
my man.
Good to have you.
Thank you. Yes.
I really appreciate it. This is like a little dream come true right now talking to y'all guys. Thank you.
That's what's
up.
But I do want to say I do agree with LeBron James, just for the simple fact that from what he said, I look at it as that football players, they don't play offense or they don't play defense. They play one or the other. And on basketball, you up and down the court all the time. And so that's why I feel like it'll be a basketball player over a football player.
I could say a basketball player is not getting hit.
Yeah,
basketball
but
players
they do
not
get
in
hit,
harm's way. Yeah, but they're not getting tackled. They're not getting hit like football players. They don't have to be as strong. I could argue they don't have to be as strong. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just throwing stuff at you.
No, that's true.
Steph Curry doesn't play great defense. He got 3 championships. Everybody say he's a transcendent player.
Magic wasn't a phenomenal defender,
right?
A lot of people think he's the best. You know,
but he was an awesome athlete.
Oh, there are football players better athletes than Magic.
I was gonna say yes. Magic wasn't like.
Magic's interesting, Rob. Like let's say for argument's sake, you thought Magic was the GOAT. And some people do. I don't know that somebody would call him the greatest athlete ever.
No, not at all, Chris. I think
you see what I'm saying? Yeah.
I agree. And that doesn't mean that he's a bum or he's not an athlete, but there's a lot of stuff that he didn't do that well. All right, Dennis in Virginia Beach, you're on The Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Dennis?
Yes, Chris and Rob, thanks for I appreciate it.
Yes,
Good
sir. Hey, I'm
on.
coming to Virginia Beach in August. Can't wait.
You hear
You're
that?
very-
Another vacation for Rob Parker.
What? I'm just got
My
back.
goodness,
From
it's
one.
getting ridiculous.
Oh, look at
Rob,
Chris.
you're very welcome. You're very welcome here. You're very welcome.
Can't wait.
So what you got?
Yes, just my take is that if you think about it, guys, it's been in all the history of sport. You can never. There was never really even a mention of an official athlete of the greatest athlete of all time.
No, this
Never
is just
was.
opinion, right? We
Right.
hey,
Yes.
there is no real formula, and there is
Right.
no correct answer. Chris and I talk about this all the time. Everybody values things differently. There are some great players who never won a championship, who are great players.
That's correct. My point is that we can never. Well, the GOAT thing came out when Michael Jordan was really being quantified for that. But I believe there can never be a blanket thing on the greatest athlete. Now there could be a GOAT on each sport events.
All right, so
Definitely.
Who's the GOAT football player?
Oh, no doubt, Brady. No
Okay.
doubt.
There you go.
No, what he accomplished in 7 championships. That's 2 decades worth. A football team who wins a Super Bowl is so ecstatic just for one time.
No,
Yeah, but there's a
get
lot
that.
of people who don't agree with you. But that's your
And
opinion.
so, that's our opinion.
I think too, Rob, the GOAT conversation is also just a product of the increased media, right? I mean, you didn't used to have television shows, debate shows on television all day, every day, Monday through Friday.
Not
right?
only that, it's
radio.
but it's the 24 hours, Chris. When we were
Right.
growing up, we were lucky to get an hour sports show at night, right?
Absolutely.
An hour sports
remember
show.
George Michael's Sports Machine?
Yep,
That was,
and that-
a half an hour, I think.
That was a half an hour, and you would
And
see
it was
that.
great.
Right. You would see all the highlights from around the
Right.
country, Chris, which we couldn't see.
Yep.
Everybody watched Howard Cosell give you the football highlights on Monday Night Football. That was the first time, right? That was the first time you saw out of state games.
No, it's true. It's true. And you're right. So I think that's why there wasn't as much conversation publicly and nationally about, the greatest basketball player, the GOAT basketball player, the GOAT athlete, all of that stuff. So it's but I like it. It's like you said, it's just talk. But if you say something, if you make a statement, what do we say, Rob? You got to be able to back it up.
Right. You have to be able to back it up. And without it, it's hard to buy into your argument. Jackson in Sacramento, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Jackson?
Yo, what's up, gentlemen? How you doing?
Doing
Good, man. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you. So, I think in terms of greatest athlete, it kind of depends on what the criteria is. So I think the question can certainly be answered, or at the very least boiled down to some candidates. So I think it depends on, is the question, who is the best physical athlete, like literally in terms of vertical, athletic ability, speed, quickness, strength, and then that goes down. You look at maybe LeBron, Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, Usain Bolt, guys like that.
Right.
And then obviously Tom Brady is not a candidate in that category. Then I think the second category is the most accomplished athlete, which
Right.
he certainly is in that. You can look at Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather, Brady, Michael Jordan. And then I think in the area, also a side note, I think LeBron's comment about you need to be offensive and defense, I almost think that's kind of his disclaimer to keep himself in the discussion, which he is in anyway. If you look at it either
LeBron
way,
would be in that discussion for greatest athlete ever. He's in the discussion. I don't
he's
think
in
there's
both.
any doubt about that.
Yeah, if you're talking about accomplishments, he's in that because he's going to be 1 or 2 in scoring. He's going to have at least 4 rings. He's 17 All-NBA. And then I almost think if you're looking at football, you can say, okay, who's the most valuable asset to a football team, who impacts winning the most? And then Brady's certainly in that conversation. But I also think in football, you almost need the best football player, the best at their position. And then if you go most impactful football player, it's almost always going to be a quarterback.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
There's no
it's
doubt
tough
about
to
it.
It's tough to say the best football player where, let's say, Ray Lewis may have played his position better than Brady, but as a linebacker, you can't impact winning as much as a quarterback does.
Right.
Well, it just depends. I mean, you
that's a
say
good
that,
call.
but that Baltimore defense that won the Super Bowl and that team, and if you go back, Chris, to that Tampa Bay Super Bowl, you remember against the Raiders, who had the Rob G knows this, the number one offense against the number one defense. Their defense scored 21 points in that game, Tampa Bay, in that Super Bowl.
Right.
You remember?
Right.
I mean,
But
that was about that defense. No, I know. I'm just saying, but it does happen.
Yeah, I think, Rob, and the caller brought up some good points, and you know this because, I mean, you vote for Hall of Famers. I vote for all NBA teams and stuff. It's a combination. It's a combination of physical attributes and accomplishments. I mean, that's just really boiling it down. But I don't care. Look, heck, for all we know, Nate Robinson might be the greatest athlete of all. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you just look at physical attributes.
He just doesn't have the chin for
right,
it.
He doesn't. Right. He ain't the greatest boxer, that's for sure. But you know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't have the accomplishments even close to be considered the greatest athlete ever. But if you just go physical attributes, he's got that, but you need the other thing too. So it's really a combination and a mix. And that's what I was saying with football player. You need both. You need both to be considered the greatest football player in my view. And Brady's lacking in the physical attributes.